Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. The words cut through the laughter and crystal clinking like a blade through silk. Honestly, I only married her out of pity. Nobody else wanted her. Kendrick Sterling's voice carried easily over the long mahogany table at the Corinthian Room, one of the most expensive restaurants in Chicago. Amara's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. The roasted salmon on her plate blurred as her vision tunneled. Around the table, 8 faces turned toward Kendrick, waiting, watching for her reaction as if this were another one of his after-dinner performances. She set her fork down with deliberate care. The silver clicked against fine china, a sound that felt thunderous in the sudden pocket of silence around their end of the table. Kendrick, her husband of 3 years, sat at the head in a tailored navy suit, perfectly trimmed beard, effortless confidence. Once, his relaxed smile had seemed charming. Tonight, under the chandelier's glow, it looked cruel and lazy. He raised his wine glass toward his business partner, Reggie Holt, who had just made some glib joke about marriage being a lifetime contract you cannot refund. "I am serious," Kendrick continued, his voice smooth with the ease of a man who had never faced real consequences. She was nearly 30, single, working some dead-end job at a small firm. "I thought I was being charitable, giving her the life she never could have achieved on her own." Reggie laughed, a booming sound that drew glances from nearby tables. His wife, Denise, tittered behind her manicured hand. The Caldwells, an older couple Kendrick was courting for an investment deal, smiled awkwardly. Even Harold Banks, Kendrick's lawyer, let out a small chuckle as he adjusted his glasses. They were all looking at Amara now, waiting to see if she would cry, make a scene, or confirm Kendrick's picture of her as pathetic and grateful. Heat crawled up her neck, but it was not embarrassment. It was rage so cold it felt like ice in her veins. 3 years. 3 years she had supported this man, given up her career trajectory to play the perfect billionaire's wife, hosted his parties, smiled through his condescension, ignored the late nights and perfume that was never hers on his shirts. "Excuse me," she said. Her voice came out steady, almost gentle. "I need to use the restroom." The red dress Kendrick had insisted she wear, because it made her look presentable, suddenly felt like armor. She rose from her chair, aware of eyes following her as she walked past polished mirrors and gold fixtures into the marble bathroom. Inside the spacious restroom, Amara gripped the edge of the counter and forced herself to breathe. Her reflection stared back at her. Deep brown skin glowed under the flattering lights. Her natural hair, styled in elegant twists pinned up, framed a face that had once looked at Kendrick with something close to love. Tonight, her dark eyes looked hard and clear. "What a fool you have been," she whispered to herself. Her phone buzzed inside her small clutch. A message from her old mentor, Patricia Holloway. "How's the dinner? Remember what we discussed. You are worth more than he will ever be." Patricia did not know the half of it. No one did. Amara had been meticulous in maintaining the illusion of a happy marriage. The self-made billionaire and his elegant, supportive wife. She had given up her position as a junior architect at Morrison & Associates, a respected Chicago firm where she had been on track for partnership. Kendrick convinced her his social obligations required a full-time hostess, that her career was cute but unnecessary, that she should support his empire instead of building her own. She had believed him, trusted him, loved him. Standing in that bathroom, the humiliation at the table crystallized into something hard, bright, and certain. She would not cry. She would not scream or throw her wine in his face. She would not give him the spectacle he silently dared her to create. Instead, she would destroy him. Quietly, precisely, with evidence and strategy, the way she once deconstructed buildings to find their weak points. Amara reapplied her lipstick, a bold burgundy Kendrick disliked because he said it made her look too confident. She straightened her shoulders, practiced a pleasant neutral expression, and walked back to the table like a woman returning from retouching her makeup instead of from deciding to dismantle her life. When she sat down, the conversation had drifted back to mergers and market trends. Kendrick barely glanced at her. "Everything all right, dear?" Denise asked, her tone sweet but curious. "Perfect," Amara replied. She lifted her glass and took a small sip of wine. Kendrick was just explaining how charitable he is. "It is one of the things I admire most about him. He is always taking on projects other people have given up on." The words could have been sincere. Her tone was flawlessly affectionate. Reggie's eyes narrowed slightly. He was sharper than Kendrick usually gave him credit for. Kendrick, oblivious, patted Amara's hand. That is my girl. Always supportive. His girl. His project. His charity case. For the rest of the dinner, Amara played her role with chilling precision. She laughed at the right moments, asked polite questions, complimented Denise's dress, and listened to Mr. Caldwell's story about his grandson's engineering program. But inside, her mind raced. She thought about Kendrick's home office, which she was not allowed to enter anymore, though she still had an old key from when they first moved into the penthouse. She thought about the contracts he left on his desk, assuming she would never understand them. She thought about the late nights, the lies, the perfume on his collars, the prenup Harold had pushed in front of her 2 days before the wedding, calling it standard, as she skimmed it in a haze of last-minute preparations. The prenup that gave her almost nothing if she left. The agreement that assumed she would never fight back. But prenups could be challenged, especially if there was fraud, hidden assets, or a spouse who had violated the basic terms of the marriage through infidelity and deception. Amara had been a good wife, a patient wife, a trusting wife. That ended tonight. We should do this again, Kendrick said as coffee arrived, signaling for the check with his usual confidence. Maybe next month, if you all are free. Absolutely, Reggie said, glancing at Amara again with that same calculating look. Mrs. Sterling, you have been unusually quiet tonight. Just thinking, Amara answered smoothly. About all the changes that are coming. Changes? Kendrick frowned faintly. In the season, she replied. Fall is coming. Everything changes in fall. Denise laughed. How poetic. Outside, Kendrick's driver, Calvin, held the car door open. Kendrick placed a firm hand at the small of Amara's back, his touch possessive and cold. As the car pulled away, the Chicago skyline glittered through the window. Somewhere up there was the penthouse she had decorated, the home she had tried to make into a safe place. You were awfully quiet, Kendrick said, scrolling through his phone. You could have been a bit more charming with the Caldwells. They are cautious by nature. I will do better next time, she murmured, filing away the fact that he was still thinking there would be a next time. Back at the penthouse, Kendrick went straight to his office. Do not wait up, he called. I have work to finish. The door closed with a soft click. Amara walked to the bedroom and slipped out of the red dress, hung it carefully, then pulled on jeans, a soft green sweater, and sneakers. She studied herself in the mirror. This was who she really was, not the polished ornament he wanted on his arm. Amara Jacobs, almost partner at Morrison and Associates before Kendrick persuaded her to resign. Graduate of Howard University with honors. Designer of 3 public buildings downtown, even if her name never made it to the plaques. She had allowed this man to talk her out of herself. That ended now. From down the hall, she heard Kendrick's voice through the office door, low and intimate. He was not talking to a client. I wish you could have been at dinner, he said, his tone soft in a way he never used with her anymore. My wife. She is grateful. She will never leave. She owes me her life. Amara stood still, listening, the last traces of love dying without ceremony. Good. Let him be distracted. She sat at the small desk in the guest room she had quietly claimed as her study and opened her laptop. At the top of a blank document, she typed, Evidence Collection Log. She began to write. Every suspicious phone call she could remember. Every late night. Every lie. Names, locations, dates, times. The night she found a bracelet in his coat pocket, clearly meant for another woman. The dinner party where he corrected her about Beethoven and was proven wrong, then scolded her in the car because she had embarrassed him. The morning she confronted him about the messages on his phone, and he told her she was too emotional and should be grateful for the life he provided. She wrote until her eyes burned and her fingers ached. Past midnight, music drifted from the office. Soft jazz, the soundtrack of his expensive scotch and self-satisfaction. 3 years earlier, Amara had believed in fairy tales. At 29, she had stood in front of a mirror in her small apartment on the South Side, smoothing a simple black dress before a charity gala. Junior architect at Morrison and Associates. 3 successful projects under her belt. She did not have much, but what she had earned. The firm was sponsoring the gala, and Patricia, senior partner and mentor, had insisted she attend. Your designs are brilliant, Amara, Patricia had said. But people need to see you as well as your work. Visibility matters in this business. Amara had gone, uncomfortable yet determined to do her part. She spent most of that night near the back of the ballroom, nursing a single glass of champagne and talking about load-bearing walls and sustainable materials with anyone willing to listen. She had been in the middle of explaining why the proposed riverside development was structurally unsound when a smooth voice spoke behind her. "You are absolutely right." She turned to find one of the most striking men she had ever seen. Tall, with a warm brown complexion, perfectly cut suit, and a smile tuned to just the right intensity. "Kendrick Sterling," he said, extending a hand. "And you are Amara Jacobs, the architect. I have been watching you. You are the only person here talking about buildings instead of profit margins." They talked for an hour. Kendrick asked about her childhood in Atlanta, her decision to move to Chicago for architecture school, her dream of designing affordable housing that was beautiful and dignified. "Most people here only care about returns," he said, holding her gaze. "You care about legacy. That is remarkable." When the gala ended, he walked her to the door. "Let me take you to dinner," he said. "Somewhere quiet. I want to hear more about your vision." She had been flattered, excited. Her parents were impressed when they met him, charmed by his polish and apparent stability. 3 months later, he proposed in his penthouse overlooking the skyline, ring glittering in the city lights. "Marry me, Amara. Let me give you the world." She said yes. The wedding was elaborate, mostly his world. 300 guests, many of whom she knew only by title or reputation. 2 days before the ceremony, Harold arrived with the prenup. "Just a formality," Kendrick assured her when she hesitated. "Standard protection for both of us. My lawyers insist." Amara was drowning in last-minute details, exhausted from fittings and seating charts. She skimmed as Harold spoke quickly, pointing at signature lines. She signed, trusting the man who said he loved her. The first year of marriage was an adjustment. Kendrick traveled frequently. Amara kept working, but being Mrs. Sterling meant charity luncheons, corporate dinners, and last-minute appearances. "These people need to see I am stable and family-oriented," Kendrick told her. "You are part of my image." By their second year, the pressure intensified. "You do not need to work," Kendrick insisted when she complained about missing client meetings for his events. "My schedule is demanding. I need you available fully. Be my partner in building this empire." Patricia warned her. "You are on track for partnership," she said during lunch. "Once you step away, it will be hard to come back." But Kendrick's persuasion was relentless and wrapped in affection. "We will have children soon," he said. "Do you want to be running to construction sites or home with our family? Besides, you can always go back later." Amara resigned. That was when things truly shifted. Without her work to anchor her, she began to notice what she had ignored. The way Kendrick's eyes glazed over when she talked about anything that did not benefit him. The way he introduced her simply as my wife at events, never mentioning that she was an architect. The way he corrected her in public, gently but with an edge that stung. When she discovered his messages with other women, she confronted him at breakfast. "Are you cheating on me?" she asked, her voice shaking. He looked up from his tablet, barely surprised. "What brought this on?" "I saw your messages." He sighed, set his tablet down, and leaned back. "Amara, those are friendships. Networking. You do not understand how business works at this level." "You are sleeping with them," she said quietly. "Some of them I have met." "Look," he replied, as if explaining something to a child. "Our marriage is about partnership, stability. You have a beautiful home, financial security, status. Do not throw that away over a few meaningless distractions." "I could leave," she whispered. He smiled then, unfazed. "And go where? Back to some mid-level architecture job? You gave that up, remember. You are Mrs. Kendrick Sterling now. That is your life. You are not going to throw it away because you are feeling insecure." His confidence had been terrifying. He was right about one thing. She had let her friendships fade, let her network dissolve, let her identity shrink down to his last name. She stayed, telling herself things would improve. They did not. Kendrick became more careless. Lipstick on his collar. Receipts from restaurants he said he was too busy to visit. Candace, his assistant, gazing at him as if he were the sun. He stopped bothering to hide. When she found jewelry in his coat pocket clearly meant for someone else, he said, "It is an anniversary gift for Candace. She has been with the company 5 years. It is appropriate." Amara swallowed her protests and played her role, smiling at parties, running the household, pretending nothing was wrong. Somewhere in her, a small voice kept asking, "How much more will you accept?" At the Corinthian room, when he told their friends he had married her out of pity, that question finally received an answer. Monday morning after the humiliating dinner, Amara woke before Kendrick. His breathing was steady, untroubled. He had no idea what she had started. She made coffee for herself only. For 3 years she had placed his mug beside his plate at exactly 7:15 a.m. Today the counter stayed clear. She took her cup to the study and pulled up a digital copy of the prenup she had requested from Harold months earlier, just for her records. She read every line this time. The terms were worse than she remembered. If they divorced without cause, she received a small lump sum, barely equal to 1 year of her old salary. The penthouse, his business interests, the cars, investments, everything remained his. But buried on page 7 was language Harold had skimmed over. In the event of fraud, misrepresentation, infidelity, or concealment of assets, the agreement could be challenged. At the bottom of that page, Amara wrote in her notebook, "Find proof." Around noon, her phone rang. Patricia's name lit up the screen. "I have been thinking about you," Patricia said. "How are things?" Amara hesitated, then said, "I need to talk to you in person. Today." Patricia paused. "Is it about Kendrick?" "Yes. I will text you an address," Patricia replied. "Come at 2 o'clock. Do not tell him." The coffee shop Patricia chose was far from the neighborhoods Kendrick frequented. Tucked into a quiet block, it smelled of roasted beans and fresh pastries, a place built for calm conversations. Patricia was already seated when Amara arrived, wearing a burgundy blazer and gold earrings, gray hair cropped close. She gestured to the seat across from her. "Sit," she said. "Tell me everything." Amara did. She described the whirlwind courtship, the prenup, the emotional erosion, the affairs, the dinner at the Corinthian room, and the decision she had made in the restroom. Patricia listened without interruption, her expression grave. When Amara finished, Patricia folded her hands. "First, I am proud of you," she said. "Seeing clearly is the hardest step. Second, you are going to need a very good attorney. Third, you are going to need to be patient and strategic. No outbursts, no threats. You cannot give him time to hide anything." "I do not have access to our money," Amara said. "He controls everything." Patricia took out her phone. "I am connecting you to someone," she said. "Her name is Nicole Freeman. She is the best divorce attorney in the city for cases like yours. High net worth, hidden assets, spouses who think they are untouchable. She will work with you on payment. Once you win, you will be able to pay her properly." "If I win," Amara whispered. "You will," Patricia replied calmly. "But you will need evidence. Financial documents. Proof of infidelity. Any indication that he misled you when you married. Has he ever used offshore accounts? Shell companies." Amara thought about papers she had glimpsed on his desk, names she did not recognize, numbers that did not seem to connect. That night, Kendrick came home late, smelling of a floral perfume Amara did not own. "Dinner?" he asked as he slipped off his shoes, hardly glancing at her. "No," she answered. "I ate earlier." He frowned. "You always cook." "I had errands and appointments," she replied lightly. "I have a life, Kendrick." He studied her for a moment, suspicion flickering in his eyes. "What appointments?" "Just personal things," she said. "You do not tell me about every meeting either." He shrugged, unwilling to press as his phone buzzed. "Whatever. I will order something." He disappeared into his office and closed the door. Amara cleaned the kitchen, then went to her study, pulled out a brand new notebook, and wrote on the first page, Operation Exit. Under that title, she listed tasks. Meet with Nicole. Photograph documents in Kendrick's office. Document every act of infidelity. Research Sterling Enterprises finances. Contact old colleagues at Morrison and Associates. Open a personal bank account. Find a new apartment. Rebuild career. It was a long list, but she approached it like a complex project. Foundation first, then structure, then details. When Kendrick passed out on the office sofa that night, she waited until his snoring grew steady, then took the old office key from her jewelry box and quietly opened the door. The room smelled of leather and scotch. His desk was chaos, contracts, financial statements, email printouts. She moved quickly, photographing everything with her phone, careful to place each page back exactly where she found it. One set of documents caught her eye. A financial statement referencing a $10 million investment from H. Winters, routed through an offshore account before being funneled into Sterling Enterprises. She had never heard that name at any event. The terms looked vague and strange. She photographed every page. Back in her study, She uploaded all the images to a secure cloud account Kendrick did not know existed and organized them with ruthless precision. The next morning, she walked into a sleek glass high-rise and introduced herself at Nicole Freeman's office under a name Patricia had suggested, Beth Williams, just in case anyone reported back to Kendrick. Nicole, mid-40s with sharp features and a calm intensity, listened to Amara's story and examined the documents with growing interest. "You have a strong case," Nicole said at last. "The prenup is vulnerable, and if this winter's investment is what it appears to be, your husband's business is sitting on a foundation of fraud. The courts do not protect contracts that help shield criminal activity. We will need more documentation, but we already have a path." Hope sparked in Amara's chest, small but real. "How long will this take?" she asked. "Months," Nicole replied. "Maybe a year. But we will move carefully. For now, you will continue to act as if everything is normal. Do not confront him. Do not threaten divorce. Do not hint that you have spoken to an attorney. You are invisible until we are ready. In the meantime, you start rebuilding your professional life. You told me you were an architect. Do you still want that?" The question startled her. Want. Not can, not should, but want. "Yes," she said, her voice firmer than she felt. "I want it more than anything. Then we will make sure you have the freedom to pursue it," Nicole said. "Talk to Patricia. See what possibilities exist." Patricia had more than possibilities. When they met for dinner that night at a neighborhood restaurant far from Kendrick's orbit, she slid a folder across the table. "The firm has a new project," she said. "City-backed, community-focused, affordable housing done right. We lost a lead architect who moved out of state. I recommended you as a consultant. Work from home for now. Quietly. Your name will be on the design." Amara opened the folder and saw site plans, budgets, and a project brief that spoke directly to the dreams she had buried. The following weeks became a carefully orchestrated double life. By day, Amara refined designs for the housing project in her study, meeting with Patricia and a young architect named Damon Hughes at the Morrison and Associates office under the guise of catching up with old colleagues. By night, she continued the role of perfect wife, while secretly collecting evidence with Nicole's guidance. When Kendrick brought his assistant Candace home drunk one night, laughing and kissing in the hallway, Amara stood quietly 20 feet away, recorded a short, clear video, and then went back to her desk to work on courtyard layouts that would let children play safely in sunlight. Her anger no longer burned wildly. It focused itself into lines on blueprints, dates in spreadsheets, and a plan as precise as any structure she had ever designed. Her marriage to Kendrick Sterling had begun with a promise to give her the world. It would end with her taking her own life back, piece by piece, while his carefully constructed world collapsed under the weight of his own lies. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.